Om Shri Sai Ram. Welcome to our next offering, next session on his story through the eyes of his boys. It's a great privilege and pleasure of mine to start this program again and offer our memories, our thoughts to the Divine Master, Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. As we start the program, we will please join me for the prayer. Om. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Sai Ram. Bhagwan's story, Bhagwan's life is a joy forever. The more we dwell into it, more we find learning lessons which can last us for more than a lifetime. In this series, it's our humble attempt and offering to present to all the devotees what we saw, what as a student of Bhagwan we experienced, and what Bhagwan in his immense grace allowed us to learn at his lotus feet. As somebody said, that the greatest lesson or greatest joy one can derive is only through listening to the Lord's stories. It seems the Bhagavad time, Narada also told that in spite of writing all the literature, Vedas, Upanishads, Vedavyas did not find satisfaction. And Narada said, you will not be able to attain the complete satisfaction and fulfillment without listening to the tales of the Master, without going into the life of the Almighty Master. So today we are again going into this realm and continuing with our story, a journey which we were fortunate to experience. So in that process, I have a privilege to invite Brother Kiran Patel. Sai Ram Bhaiya.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
I would request you to start off with a nice nostalgic bhajan, which I believe you had sung for Swami.
Sai Ram, everyone. This is a plea to Bhagwan to listen to our prayers. O Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, araj suno mere Sai Bhagavan. Partipuri ke तुम हो दाता, वृंदावन के तुम हो दाता, सब भक्तों के मन को भाता, पार उतारो नैया मोरी, साई घनश्यामा, साई घनश्यामा, Sai Ganashama, Sai Ganashama. O Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, Araja suno mere Sai Bhagavan.
Sairam and welcome, Kiran Bhaiya. Let me take this privilege and opportunity to introduce Dr. Kiran Patel. Dr. Kiran was with Bhagwan as a student from 1972 when he joined in pre-university at Vrindavan campus. Then onwards, he went on to do his BSc and Masters. That journey also is very interesting, which in the due course we will listen from him. And he did it in chemistry and physical chemistry specialization. And presently, actually, he's a retired now as a manager in R&D in a pharma company, and he's based in United Kingdom. So formally welcoming you, Kiran Bhaiya.
Sairam, thank you.
Please say a few words of introduction about yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
I'm hailing from Kampala, from Uganda. And as a lot of our devotees know, that was the only place outside India where Swami visited. And my first introduction to Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba was a Diwali card that we received at our home. It was the image of an old man, but none of us actually knew about this personality. And typical, we took the card and left it on a window pane. After a few days, one of our neighbors walks in, looks at that and says, Shirdi Sai Baba. And we all said, what? Who? Shirdi Sai Baba? Who is he? And then the person indicated that he has now taken rebirth as Satya Sai Baba. And fortunately, there is a center that is running here in Kampala. Now, we had, as a family, absolutely no apprehensions. We just accepted Swami as the Almighty. And when I look back, I am really startled that how is this possible? We never challenged Swami at all. It was like we had already known him for yugas together. And that was how our first introduction happened. And
that's very interesting. As we were hearing, and I'm going to introduce Naveen Bhaiya again, but as we were wondering about that the moment you heard about Bhagwan and your family just accepted him.
Yes.
And your journey started. And Naveen, Kiran Bhaiya, we are looking forward to hearing more stories and treasures from you as we move forward in this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sairam.
Next, I will reintroduce our brother Naveen Patel. We have a pleasure of calling him again for this show because we wanted to hear some more stories from brother. But just to recap, brother Naveen Patel is also based in United Kingdom, and he's a biomedical scientist at the University Hospitals in Leicester. So Naveen Bhaiya, welcome again.
Thank you, Sairam.
You were with Bhagwan from 1969 onwards. So I know last time you introduced, but please say a few words of introduction from your side too.
Thank you, Abhinav. I joined Swami's institution in 1970, and I came from Uganda, East Africa. Kiran's elder brother. And as per Swami's instructions, as last time I had narrated this part where Swami in East Africa had asked me to come and join his institution where there was no institution at all. So I'm sure you've heard that part of the story last time. And in
We all
1970,
enjoyed it.
thank you. In 1970, I came and joined Bhagwan's institution. And Brindavan, that was the first men's college that Bhagwan had started. And that's where I landed first time, in Brindavan, Whitefield, Bangalore.
Excellent. So Naveen Bhaiya, welcome again. And
Thank
we
you.
hope to hear some more stories from you today.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Will do.
Bhaiya.
Yep.
And next, we have brother Sai Kantharao. Sai Ram, brother.
Sairam,
Brother
Sairam.
Kantharao, yes. Brother Kantharao joined Bhagwan in 1979 as a graduate in Bachelor's of Art, and then he went on to do his master's and PhD. He's also from a Sai family. His parents were devotees, and he has a long history with Bhagwan, doing various things. So Kantharao Garu, welcome again to this program.
Thank you.
Please
Sairam.
say a few words of your introduction and something about your life before you came as a student to Bhagwan.
Sairam. And actually, first I visited Parthi in the year 1961 when I was 3 months old. And since then, we have been visiting Parthi, and it's fortunate that Swami is really, gracious enough to shower his love and grace since then onwards. And in 79, I joined Puttaparthi campus in the degree BA, and later I did my MA and also PhD, and I served for about 1 year in the accommodation office with Swami's wishes. It was nice, and anyway, that's a great thing. There's so many Swamis always showering his love and grace and revealing his divinity as and when really we need of it. Sairam, brother. That's what
Kantharao Garu, I
Yeah,
believe
please.
initially before you came as a student, there was some kind of a majestic experience you all had.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
nice.
why don't you share that?
Sure. Actually, what happened since then, we have been 61. We have been visiting. After coming from Parthi, we used to have a home bhajans. At family members sit together and do some bhajans. And every day in the evening, we do that. Even today, we continue to do that at our homes. And it so happened in 1966, all my sisters and my cousins, I was just 5 years old that time. And we were sitting in the evening, 6 o'clock, and doing Swami's bhajans in my house in a remote village, Palivila, in East Godavari district, Andhra Pradesh. And actually, we used to take 3 days to travel from to my village to Parthi. And that time when we were doing bhajans at 6 o'clock, and suddenly, imagine, I tell you, this is Swami just manifested himself in the chair that is kept for him during bhajans. That time one small chair, and then kept one, white cloth and a footrest. And Swami, with the physical form, he just manifested all my sisters, my cousins, around 8 of them are there, and myself. I was very small, I vaguely remember that, but still. And we saw Swami in a physical form, manifested himself, sat in the chair, and we started shouting, calling my fathers, Daddy, Nana, Swami has come. And he was in the backyard pouring water for the Tulsi plant. He came running, and imagine what has happened is that suddenly Swami's form was not there by the time my father came. But what has happened is that time the footprints of Swami with Vibhuti are left out on the footrest. And that was there for months together. A whole village has come and seen for about 15-20 days. Regularly, they used to come and take the Vibhuti. And Swami also acknowledged this. In fact, this is how Swami is everywhere, and he is omnipresent, and he right now he is hearing us. That's what the feeling has imparted in us by giving such an experience. In fact, I remember this. It's just one statement which I want to tell. And during my PhD time, I was sitting in the veranda, Swami came to me in the veranda and looking straight into my eyes and asked me, "Hey, can you tell me what is Upanishad?" And Swami asked me, "What is Upanishad?" I just kept my face blank and was kneeling down, looking at Swami's eyes like this, and Swami's head on my face. And I was not knowing anything to say because at that time Swami revealed Upanishad means, I just quote unquote in Telugu what Swami said is still lingering on my ears. అనంతమైన దివ్యత్వాన్ని అతి సమీపంలో ఉండేటట్లుగా నిరూపించేది ఉపనిషత్. అనంతమైన దివ్యత్వాన్ని. That means it is to experience or realize the infinite divinity in the closest proximity is Upanishad. And that is what has been revealed during our days in 1966. And Swami just manifested. And all our family members were grateful because Swami has pulled us that way. And from then onwards, there's so many, every minute he has been protecting us. In the days to come, but Swami's ways of doing it, anyway, in the course of time, we can discuss, maybe we can talk to each other and so many people to share. Swami very casually mentions this, and he walks amidst us, he talks to us, he plays with us, but he reveals his divinity, his omnipresence, his omnipotence, his omniscience in a very casual way. And that is what actually keeps us in Swami's fold, in Swami's path, and then making us realize that Swami is always with us. And this is what my
What a definition.
experience was. That was
What a definition of Upanishad. I tell you, I don't think any scripture or any book you will find that beautiful definition of what Upanishad can mean in practical terms.
And very
by
simple,
default,
the layman can understand.
I feel by default we have learned Upanishad. We all Swami's devotees have been bestowed the Upanishad knowledge by default. Thank you, brother Sai Kantharao, and pleasure to have you, and we'll continue to listen to you more. So thank you very much for joining. Next, I have a pleasure of introducing Dr. Prabal Mal. Brother Prabal Mal is presently based in Pondicherry. He's a learning consultant, and he joined Bhagwan's College in 1979. They were actually the first batch of formal, when this college formally started. What we heard from Kiran Bhaiya and Naveen Bhaiya, that time the college was in a formative ages, but when it became a university, they were the first batch of students. So Prabal Bhaiya, we are very happy to have you all here. So welcome to this program, and please share a few words of introduction from your side. Oh, Prabal Bhaiya, your voice again went off. Oh, I guess, okay. I guess he will come back, some issue. So let us take it forward, and let me bring in our next brother. Oh, a minute. If Prabal has come back, let me see. Sorry, Prabal Bhaiya, I think you have to re-log in. Sorry about that. So let me bring in Ashok Anand. So Sairam Ashok Bhaiya.
Sairam. Sairam.
Sairam.
Sairam.
Brother Ashok Anand is a PhD in education, PhD educationist, professor in management studies, Bangalore. He also came to Bhagwan much early. His family is from in the Swami's fold for long, but he came to study in 1979. And then onwards, he has been with Bhagwan and enjoyed the proximity. And we are happy to have you here. So, Brother Ashok Anand, welcome to the program. And please share a few words of introduction from your side.
Thank you. Yeah. Pranams at lotus feet of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba Swami. Right. Thank you very much, first of all, Abhinav, to
Welcome.
bring me here and all of us to come and share our thoughts about Swami and about our life with Swami, right, when we were as students. Now, as far as my life goes with Swami, I don't remember, anything other than being in the fold of Swami from childhood. Because even when, right, I think from the early 60s is what Father used to go. And then, So we were all the time involved with Swami, and Swami, right, bhajans were happening in the house, neighbor's house, visiting Parthi or going to Shivam. At that time, there was no Shivam also when the first Swami used to come. So life was actually about Swami, and right. So every time there's right, there was nothing other than Swami in our house, right. So because father was always going to Parthi very often, because he was also right associated at that time when I was very small with right Swami, giving him some opportunity of serving him in the Anandapur college when he started off as such. And my brother also did some door duty in the early right 60 and the late 60s as such. So as such, family for us, and Swami was just a part of us as such. My sister also studied in Anantapur, and then I basically came and right. So life with Swami
So
is just it
it's
happened.
part of, yes.
Say.
We have accepted Swami that way. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you again. Uh, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you as we move forward in the program. Thank you, brother. Let me see if our brother Prabal Bhaiya has come back, and we can hear him. Prabal Bhai.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
So
so Sai Ram again.
welcome. Yes,
Sai Ram
please.
again. Yeah. So it was in the year 1975 when we came first to Parthi, and I was that time just in my 10th class. So we had come with my mom and sisters. So that's the first time I saw Swami up close. Before that, our family had started attending bhajans in Lucknow. Originally, I belonged to Lucknow. And so first time itself when I came, so we were lucky to get an interview. And that time, uh, typically I was a stylish type of lad. I used to wear very colorful type of shirts, and those days, if any of you remember, they were bell bottoms. There used to be pants called bell bottoms.
With a
So
long, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I was having a Swami's locket, which like those hippie type of days, I was hanging the locket outside my shirt. So the moment Swami saw me in the interview room itself, he said, "See, don't keep this locket outside. Keep it inside, close to your heart. Don't keep it outside." So that was the first close encounters I had with Swami. And then, of course, I went and completed my uh, 12th class. And in between, I attended the summer course in Brindavan. And after that, Swami called me. So I came and joined the Prashanti Nilayam campus as the first batch of the degree students. And after that, it has all been a grace of Swami. And of course, Ashok and Dr. Kantha Rao were all my batchmates. And as we discuss further, we will recollect lots of our experiences so that everybody can enjoy.
Sure.
Sairam,
Sairam,
Sairam.
thank you very much. Let me bring in Naveen Bhaiya. Actually, on 6th, we had a very auspicious day of remembering the Divine Mother, Eshwarama.
Yes.
And on the occasion of Eshwarama Day, we usually celebrate with children. But we have Brother Naveen here, who had the unique privilege of, seeing Mother Eshwarama, and he was there with her in her last moments. So Naveen Bhaiya, it will be very nice if you can share with all of us about what do you, little bit about Mother,
Yes.
how she was and her little personality, and give us a little sketch about that eventful day when she breathed her last.
Okay. Let me just go
Please.
behind a bit. When I joined the college in 1970, many times Swami used to spend his times in Brindavan. And when Swami is in Brindavan, you would have Swami's sisters, Swami's mother, Eshwarama. They all come and stay in Brindavan at the old bungalow. Many times, or quite a few times, Swami has himself introduced me to Mother Eshwarama, saying, "This boy comes from Africa." So I don't speak Telugu. I didn't even speak any word of Telugu. But Swami used to converse with her in Telugu and tell her in Telugu. And at times, many times, Swami used to visit Bangalore city, go and have evening meal at a devotee's house, that sort of thing. At times, whenever Swami was in Vrindavan and visiting somebody's house in Bangalore, Mother Eshwarama used to be in the bungalow. And many times, whenever I used to be sitting in front in the lounge in the old bungalow, she used to come up there. And along with the other, I think, sisters, Swami's sisters, they used to come. And a few times I've had tried to converse with her. And she converses with me in Telugu. But vaguely you can grasp her feeling, her talk, and that sort of thing. And of course, the sisters used to translate it a bit towards me. So I used to understand that. And as I said, Swami did introduce me as one of the Africa boys. Anyway, on the first summer course, soon after the summer course started on 1st of May, everything went on very smoothly. Only few
That was
of
1972.
1972, only
Yes.
very few. That was the first summer course. Only few of us college students were left there. Somebody like me.
9. I believe
Yeah,
9 of you were there.
That's right. Some of us, because people like me were stateless, basically, into inverted commas. Okay, my home was there in Africa, but at that time, I'm sure many of you remember that there was exodus of the Asians from East African countries, especially Uganda, to Europe or to India or America or Australia and wherever. And in that same time, my parents were stuck in that situation, so I could not go back home. And my duty at that time, we became part of the organizing team for the summer course. Of course, there were other people like Dr. Bhagwantam, Professor, our Vice Chancellor. They were all there.
Mr. Gokak.
Professor Gokak was there.
Yes.
But we, the small team of us students who were left there, we were assigned to other tasks like, looking after the PA system, electric system, the water systems, and everything else that needed to be organized within the compound of the Brindavan, because the students came from all over India. And I believe there were over 500 students who came from all over India. And some of those students, I'm glad to say that they, after a month of summer course, they decided to be part of Swami's institution, join Swami's institution. And I recall quite a few other students who came through summer course and later on joined as students. Not only students, but few of them joined as lecturers. And one of them I remember very well is one Mr. Mishra, who came in as summer course, and then later on became one of the lecturers.
The English teacher in school.
English teacher.
Yeah, one of my favorite teachers.
Yeah, a wonderful person. Yeah. Anyway, on 6th of May, 1972, as usual, in the morning, we had our Suprabhatam and all that sort of thing. So students did that. And later on, before 9 o'clock, they were supposed to be having their breakfast or having their wash and whatever it is. And this is what was going on. So they were not inside the Brindavan bungalow campus area where the big marquee was, where the students would be given the tuition there.
The marquee was, when the summer course was going on, the marquee was built on the, I would say, if you face Trivandrum Vrindavan today, on the right side of Vrindavan, near to the station. That was the place for summer course.
That's right, yes.
Okay.
So that's where the big marquee
So early
was.
morning, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. And that time, none of the students were there. They were all still outside within the Vrindavan compound into the accommodations that they were given. And the accommodation were given into our library, our old hostel, about the dormitory, and then into the laboratories as well. So everything was cleared to make accommodation for the students who came from all over India. So anyway, they were doing that. And suddenly, my duty, as I said, I was to look after the PA systems and electrics. That morning, I had to get something from upstairs near Swami's bedroom. All my stock of PA systems and whatever were upstairs so that I could easily access them. And that was near to Swami's bedroom. And suddenly, I came upstairs and suddenly I heard very loud shout, Swami, Swami. I thought something has gone wrong. Where was this sound coming from? That was sound that was from the ground floor in the Mandir area of the Brindavan bungalow, the old bungalow. This Mandir area is situated in the middle part of this big bungalow that was there. In the front part, we had the big lounge. And between the lounge and there was a corridor linking to this Mandir area. And then that Mandir area was linked into a dining room at the back for Swami and guests. And that led to a compound that was outside. So anyway, I climbed from the back stairs to the first floor near to the Swami's room. And suddenly, as I said, I heard, Swami, Swami, 2 or 3 times. So I was a bit perturbed. In all this pin drop silence, how come there is sudden sounds coming up? So to investigate, I rushed downstairs from the back staircase and went into this Mandir area. And that's where I noticed Mother Eshwarama lying flat on the floor, and all the other ladies, including Swami's sisters, and they were all surrounding them. There was the Vrindavan caretaker, Mr. Rama Brahmam, a wonderful soul. I call him a giant of a person, a Hanuman as such. He immediately noticed me and he said, go upstairs and tell Swami this news that Mother Eshwarama has collapsed. So immediately I ran upstairs again into Swami's inner room, his bedroom, and next to that there is the bathroom. And Swami was having a shower. And I knocked on that and Swami suddenly came out. I said, Swami, Mother Eshwarama, I know. He was still wet. And his hair and everything was wet. He quickly dried it up, not completely, but it was still wet. And says, come. So both of us followed. I followed Swami, and we went downstairs through the back staircase into this Mandir area where Mother Eshwarama was. And I was...
This is the Mandir area.
This is the Mandir area that we are talking about.
Okay.
And the mother was lying on the right-hand side of this mandir. And Swami then performed whatever rites he had to do and put a bit of amrit gel into her mouth and a bit of vibhuti. And then did speak to a few of the sisters. And then I was still watching all this time. Okay, here is the Almighty God. What is going to do? What is he going to do? These are my thoughts running into my brain. What is going on? And will Swami revive her? Or is it time for Mother Eshwarama to go? But Swami very calmly then looked at me and he says, okay. He had instructed Rama Brahmam and the other people that Mother Eshwarama be moved to Prashantanilayam immediately, and 3 cars were got ready, and instructed the sisters and the other people who were very close to Swami to follow the body to Prashantanilayam. And he instructed me, just follow me. So I just followed Swami behind through the staircase, just two of us. And all he said was, oh, uska kaam karne ka aaya tha. Abhi kaam ho gaya, chale gaye. That's
She had come for her work and she has finished her role and now she has left.
task, and she is gone. And
Excellent.
the emotions, I was looking for emotions. Was Swami going to break down or anything like that? What was going to happen? That's why I followed Swami right up to the top, to his bedroom, and says, okay, I'll go. And Swami went inside the room, closed the room. So I was a bit perturbed and then came downstairs. And I was thinking, now what is going to happen? Soon after that, other people like Professor Gokak, Bhagwantam, and quite a few other elderly people, they came to hear about this. None of the devotees outside came to know about it, but these people who were that close, they were told about it immediately. And they came immediately to Swami. And as soon as Swami came down, soon after, by that time the body had been moved to Prashantanilayam. Swami came downstairs, and these people suggested to Swami, Swami, we are still in sort of early times of the summer course. It will be pertinent that we cancel the summer course for this year and we can have it later on. Swami said, no, that is not going to be possible, because the purpose with which this summer course is set up and this thing is two different things. Everything has got to go on. Life has got to go on the way it is. You just carry on. And Swami also, that whole day, I kept watching Swami the whole day, right from that time till the end of the day, because I was that close, even on the dais next to that, sitting next to the dais, controlling the PA systems and all that sort of thing, watching Swami's emotions. Swami did not.
It's a big learning for all of us, how to handle life and how to move in directions.
How somebody that close in your family passes away and how you should be behaving. That is the first lesson I learned that. And
actually, thank you for sharing, and we together collectively pay our homage and respects to Mother Eshwarama. She has been a great instrument for all of us, for giving us this beautiful Lord. So Kiran Bhaiya, welcome back. I wanted to start off by asking you, because I know you had your own schooling in Africa, Uganda. So you had a different flair of life. And when you came to Parthi, and I think you came right when summer course, 74 summer course was in progress.
72.
72 summer course was in progress. So you landed straight. So please tell us your first impression of coming to Bhagwan.
Yeah, it was the same summer course that Navin Bhaiya has now spoken about. It was towards the end of the summer course, May 1972, that I reached Vrindavan. Navin had come to pick me up from Bombay, and we got there. And we were just waiting. This is an old bungalow. We were just waiting outside the interview room because Swami had picked up one or two devotees. Obviously, I was very excited and in a way very nervous also, because this is the first time ever, possibly I was thinking, there's going to be some sort of interaction with someone that I worshipped in a photograph. So my heart rate was beating pretty fast. And then Swami opened the doors and he came out and he looked at Navin and said, "Kabhi aaya?" and all those things Swami asked. And then looked at me and said, "Naam kya?" I said, "Swami, Kiran." And then at that point, Navin nudged me go and take namaskar. I didn't know what namaskar was, So Naveen went and touched Swami's feet. But there was like a blockage somehow came up. It was created. And I also knelt down, but I must have been about a meter away from Swami, I didn't directly touch his feet. Thinking back, I don't know why, but anyway, a lot of other thoughts were going through in my mind. And then Swami said, go at the back and sit down. Now, you just now described the summer court, this big marquee that was there, which was on the right. But behind that, there was another marquee, which I believe that is where the food was served. And there were bhajans going on at the time. So I went over and tried to find a space, couldn't find any. The only space that was available was behind some big support poles for the marquee. And nobody would sit there because they wouldn't be able to see Swami at all. So I went anyway and sat behind. The Swami is everywhere with that spirit. Bhajans finished. Swami took Aarti. He then went upstairs. And after a few minutes, Naveen comes down and says, Swami is calling you. So I go over upstairs. And Swami said, where were you? I was trying to search for you. And this was in Hindi. Swami's Hindi is so sweet. It is like music. Amazing, And in a way, yeah, that's right. And I was completely taken aback. And then I responded to Swami. Swami, I was only downstairs there. Swami said, nahi dekha. I didn't see you there. And that ended there. And for a minute or two, this conflict started going down in me. That everybody says Swami is everywhere. He knows everything. And how come he's asking that I didn't see you there? And, this, I just didn't know what was going on. And the next moment, so lovingly, Swami said, you can stay with these other boys here in this veranda. So loving he was on the first floor.
On the first floor.
And what was so amazing about this was my first experience, God that I was worshipping in a photograph. This was a God that had assumed a living form, which I just could not reconcile. So, okay, I parked myself in the veranda, and all the boys also followed. Now, there was a veranda, and there was Swami's bedroom, and the only thing that separated the two was a massive big window. And all the boys were peeping through what Swami was doing on the other side. And all this thing continued for another 3 days. Swami sitting there. At times he was resting, and everybody was saying, Swami's resting, no noise and all that. At times Swami was sitting down, taking a pad and then writing, probably letters and whatever, opening letters. I could also remember Swami picking a phone and speaking to somebody. Very, very human. And this completely, I just needed to reconcile all this that was going on in my own mind.
So you're expecting a God to sit always like this.
Yeah, that's right.
God
Absolutely. God to be sitting at a high pedestal like Rama and Krishna. And here was God that was walking and talking and joking and laughing and everything. So this I just could not reconcile. And then see, all these thoughts were going on. And before I joined Swami's institution, in my own mind, the thinking was, yeah, I'll join Swami's college and we'll have blessings. Didn't understand what blessings was, but somehow that inclination, natural inclination towards Swami. So I would do my studies, and Swami, I don't know what he does, but he will do his own bits, and we would be running in parallel. But here, what was happening? He started walking parallel and then took a 90 degrees angle straight at me. And I was completely in a turmoil. And it was only after a few days did I try and understand what all this was going on. Swami didn't want to stay there like, Lord Shiva, right? If he remain in Kailash, humanity will never benefit. We'll all be looking like that, and that's it. That's where it will end. But what was Lord Shiva like?
Sometimes ignorance, he promptly puts ignorance on us so we can come closer to him,
No,
So I'm bringing Ashok brother inside. Ashok, I know how you came to Swami. Obviously, families where your parents were pushing you for it, and I believe you are not inclined to join as a student. And you also, as Kiran Bhaiya was telling, that you are also in a different shape and form in those days. What is your thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, right, Sai Ram. The thing is that for me, Swami was right everything in the sense of what a small. I was just young, very young as such. So it was prayers in the morning after first prayers to in the puja room, and then Swami. So therefore, the part of me and Swami was there, but Swami as God was like any other thing what we do in puja rooms, and there was this. Because we used to visit when I was when I was in school and all, going to Parthi was something which was a part and parcel of life. And then what I would observe, and these students from Vrindavan used to come. And when they used to come, they were very, they used to wear whites and then put their head down and walk. You don't look down. The only thing that you see is the feet of others. Now, all these was basically something of an amazing thing for me. And then there was this talk which was all around right at that time. We say only good students will join. Students who are first class only can get seat and all. Probably this was also there in father's mind, because he never asked me to join Vrindavan. Okay, though we were devotees for a long time, I did do my +2. It so happened that right, and there was this advertisement suddenly which came up in Sanatan Sarthi, because the decision to start a college was very sudden, or it was known only to a few people, and there was no building at that time. And then father told mother that I want him to go to Parthi and join Swami's college. And mother informed me and said, this is what your dad's wish is. Now, I had a lot of perception, because we are all smart, right, as such, in our own way of understanding. So I said, okay, because I never said no to my parents, thanks to Swami and his grace. I've never said no to my father or mother. So I say, okay, I'll go, because I know that I will not pass the examination if there was an entrance exam. Secondly, I was a second class student, so I will not be in the merit list. So there was this, beautiful structured assessment which was done. That it's all done, that I will not get seat, because I was not very keen in joining Swami's college, because Swami was there. That's it. And Swami, you pray to Swami and things like that. So anyway, so we landed up in Prashanti Nilayam on the day of the interview. Swami, it was held in Eshwarama school. I remember this. I can just visualize this whole thing. And me and dad walked in, and for me, it so happened that the principal, Mr. Amrendra, was there, and he met in between, and father said Sai Ram to him, and he told, this is my son, he's going to join the college, and he told me this is the principal. And then on the way, we also met Nityanand, and he said hello to Nityanand, and he said Sai Ram, and because Nityanand and actually the students of Vrindavan used to work in for the Anantapur college time. So father's acquaintance was there with them. And now I said,
I believe
okay,
you used to wear jeans also in Mandir.
Yeah, I mean, right. So coming to that part, I'll come to that part. So therefore, we entered Eshwarama school. Then comes Swami's jeep. Right, Swami came in a jeep. At that time, he used to move around in the jeep also, because a lot of construction work. And he came into the jeep, and the jeep came and just stood right beside where we were walking. And then they said, Swami coming. So father and we stood there. And then Swami got down, and there he was in front of us. And then Purushottam, Epudochav, when did you come? I said, Sir, Swami, I have come. And he promptly said, this is my boy, I want him to join the college. Then, of course, as customary, we took Pad Namaskar. And all the time I was very sure and I prayed to the God. There was only one God, every prayer was there. Don't give me seat. This was a thought. But right, so I had all these beautiful conceptions, structurization, and then I took Namaskar. And then he said, Bangaru. Then my heart shrank. Because I said it's over. I mean, hook or crook, I think I'm going to get a seat. So that's exactly what happened. I went to the interview room and then came out in the evening. There was a list, and then they said you're selected. And and then father went and met Nityanand, and Mr. Nityanand said join. I said, Dad, where are I don't even have any clothes.
Just for the audience, Nityanand sir was our warden that time, right?
Yeah. So, I said, I don't have any clothes. So I had to go back and come, to join. And then that started the journey. And I was never prepared to join. So I had no clothes. So therefore, I had bought all my jeans and all the colored shirts, everything. And it just happened like that. And that's how the start of was. Right.
Prabal Bhaiya, how was your first impression of Bhagwan when you joined?
Oh, so I was actually quite zapped because seeing him from distance, and although we had got an interview when I had first come to Parthi, but then once I joined the college, and at the same time when Ashok joined, I also joined the college. But that close proximity was totally different from seeing him from a distance. And so what I was really taken aback was that Swami used to take care of each and every small detail. Now, typically this type of thing is known as attention to detail. See, he was taking care of the entire world, but still he used to find time to take care of the every smallest and minutest detail in whatever he used to participate. And suppose there was a function, for example, we participated in a drama, which is a Ram Krishna drama in our first year. Ashok will also recollect that, and Mr. Kiran Patel will also remember. So there was the Ram Krishna drama, and Swami used to come for each and every practice of the drama. And Swami was actually the creator and the director of the drama. So he used to come and sit through the entire session, and I was also playing a role in the drama. My character was known as Hazra. And from that day, when I got that role, Swami used to keep on calling me only with that name called Hazra.
Hazra.
It was some Hazra. It was the devotee. That person was the Ram Krishna's devotee. So what I was so impressed was that each and every role, suppose the acting used to happen, he used to make corrections on the spot and see to it that it came out as a very successful and interesting drama. So attention to detail is one thing which I learned from Swami during those days.
Excellent.
Please, thank you.
You're welcome. Sai Kantharao Garu, what was your... Yes, please contribute.
Sairam, brother. My story is different because I wanted to join Swami's Institute. And I was praying to join the institute, but my background was very poor because I came from a Telugu medium, schooling, and then even the PUC also. But then, as Ashok mentioned, the advertisement had come in the Sanatan Sarthi, and we came to Parthi and wrote it on a white paper application form, in fact, and we applied it. And somehow I did not get the seat. Then I was to sit in the sands in the devotees line and keep asking Swami, please give me a seat. And the usual answer from Swami's side is, you go and ask principal. That time, Amarendra was the principal. And when we used to go to Principal Amarendra, he said, no vacancy. Then again, come to Swami, there's all our lives are centered around Swami only, right from the birth. Everything, every small thing, just go to Swami and then tell him. That's how the whole thing is. Even today, that's what is happening. And just sit in the sands in the end. Again, Swami comes and asks Swami's seat. And he said, Principal Nadagman Kada, I told you to ask principal. He said, Swami, principal says there's no vacancy. And he said, because I don't deal with it, he said. Then next day again I went and pleaded Principal Amarendra. He said there's no vacancy. Then next day what I thought is they should not ask Swami seats, all this mundane. Then immediately I asked Swami, I need your blessings. Then he immediately looked at what he said, Swami, I need your blessings to get seat. So blessings are to be given by Swami. Then immediately Swami, during bhajan time, that time bhajans used to be between 11 and 12 in the mornings.
Yeah.
So I was sitting in the bhajan hall, and after finishing interview, Swami came in the VIP veranda. There's a window there in the front window. Swami is just leaning on that window and seeing through the window and looking at me, and he asked, what happened? What is your percentage? I said, Swami, I got a second class in PUC. He said, okay, go and meet principal today. You'll get seat, he said. That's all. Then immediately after bhajan is over, I went to canteen, had a full meal for 2 rupees. Then I went to Eshwarama school. That time the college was in the Eshwarama school. And then I went there a bit around 1:30. And by then all these panel members, they have gone for lunch. So I waited for about till 2:30. They came back and suddenly I was, searching for my name in the list that is displayed in the notice board. When I was seeing it, then what happened? I did not find any name. Then suddenly the attender came and told me, principal is calling you. I didn't know that. Actually, that was the last day where the spot admissions were taking place. And then I went inside. There's a big panel. I remember even Kiran Patel sir also was there in that panel. He was sitting there along with Nichanand Menon and Anup Jalani and Rakesh Vadera, Ramakrishna Reddy Garu.
So you three have him as a teacher here.
Yeah, all of them were sitting there. And I still remember I can confess, my English was so poor, I don't know ABCD of it. And that too, a person like Kiran Patel sir, in his accent, he asked me, what is your name? I can't understand that time. I couldn't understand actually. In fact, that was my plight. Imagine. Then I said, then Amarendra Garu, he understood immediately asked me, what is your name in Telugu? Then immediately I told him. Then everybody laughed at me because I have a long name, which I recited it in the interview time. Then
please tell the name for audience. They will also understand the flight.
I said, my name is Sai Venkatamakupulinga Lakshmi Kantha Rao. Then everybody laughed. Such a long name.
So now they will understand what you mean by difficult name,
Then they asked me.
I know this is the beauty of Swami, that even though he used to, it seems, I think Kiran Bhaiya can confirm that and tell, he used to check and validate every name. Yes, and only then admissions would happen. But to respect the protocol and hierarchy, he would always push people to the principal that please go and talk to them. Am I right, Kiran Bhaiya?
Yeah.
You have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes, I think, yes, absolutely. Swami was checking names and consulting people around, particularly from the institute. And that used to very regularly happen. And also the number of people to be taken in, also whether we have got sufficient capacity in the hostel as well. So all this was happening. The Swami used to take a very keen interest, but also most important also that he used to seek advice. So what do you think we should do? Also consensus from people around. And a lot of this used to happen. I think
I'm happy that you use these words, and I would like all of you to please share your thoughts. Like, it's a huge management lesson for everybody, that even though he was the master and he could command and everybody would follow, but he still went through the process of engaging people, developing consensus, and that way. So please keep sharing and join in, all of you free.
Yeah. Can I just state, when Kantha Rao mentioned about his admission and he was pushed from pillar to post, similar thing happened to me as well. When I came in 1970, and first when we came to Bhagwan says, I assure you, you'll have an admission in this college. And along with me, Anup Shah was there. Both of us traveled together from Kampala to come and join Swami's institution. And once that had happened, a few days later, Swami said, why don't you go and visit your grandfather who is in Gujarat now? Swami, I had not told Swami that I had my grandfather in Gujarat. I had not been to Gujarat for years. I must have been there when I was about 7 years old. But how did Swami know? Nobody had told Swami about it. Anyway, to cut the story, he asked me to go and visit my grandfather. And when I came back after that visit, as per Swami's instruction, at that time, Swami was not in Vrindavan. He was already in Parthi. So we came up to Parthi. And when we reached there, we were ushered into the interview room. But by that time, the interviews were all finished. And Swami had gone upstairs into his bedroom. So the interview room boy says, Swami is waiting for you, go upstairs. So those people who have seen the old Swami's bedroom and staircase, it's a spiral staircase.
Spiral.
I rushed on the spiral staircase, which is a very narrow staircase. Behind me was Anup Shah. Behind him was Kasturi Garu. And that's how the whole link was. And the staircase was so narrow that if somebody from the top wanted to come down, all those people had to vacate the staircase before they can come down. So I was so eager to go and see Swami. Right, time for me to go and see Swami and have his darshan. So I rushed up. And what happens? Swami is standing right at the top of this staircase. And as soon as I climbed really nearly to the top of the landing, and I heard this shouting, hey, Rowdy, stop, get out. Who called you here? I was taken aback. Who is he calling? Is it me? He's looking at, I could see Swami really at me and said, get out. He's telling me to get out. I looked at people behind me and Kasturiji as well. And Kasturiji looked at him and he was grinning. And he thought, yeah, this boy is now getting straight into the fire. And Swami is like a goldsmith hammering. Okay. And he looked at me and Swami said, admission, no admission for you. That is admission for Anup. I thought to myself, how can that be possible? Anup and I came together. Swami promised me a seat. And now he says, no seat for you. Anyway, there's another part attached to it. Pleading to Swami, and Swami says, all right, I'll see what I can do. As though the Almighty Lord himself cannot do this sort of thing. I said, I'll have to talk to so many other people. The principal, the Bangalore University Vice Chancellor, and all those people, I have to talk to them to get you an admission. Because remember, brothers and sisters, those days, Bangalore, the Swami's institution was affiliated to Bangalore University. So Swami said, I'll see what I can do, but I cannot promise you a seat, So, this Almighty God cannot do that. And same scenario.
He was actually training all of us to learn how to do things also.
When I've said something to you, you must not waver in your thoughts at all. This is the lesson I learned there. And obviously, Swami,
Kiran Bhaiya, you finished your degree, and then I think you moved to Anantapur to do your post-graduation.
That's correct, yes. So
yeah, I believe there were few students who had the privilege of staying with Bhagwan, but going and studying either in Bangalore or Anantapur.
Yes.
So how did that magic happen?
Yeah. So during those times, I talk about 1976, our institute did not have a facility for further education. If you wanted to do MSc or MCom or whatever, we didn't have that facility. So a lot of students, Swami used to ask them, you go to Bangalore University, you can commute up and down. So they used to stay in Vrindavan and do it. But me and one of my colleagues at the time, Shankar Barwa was his name, we were all both in the same class, both studying chemistry. So Swami asked us to that we should be doing MSc in chemistry. And after MSc is finished, you can come back and you can start teaching in my college. And Swami was very gracious that one of the devotees who was in the Autonomous Postgraduate Center, this is in Anantapur, it has got nothing to do with the ladies' college that Swami has got. It was a completely independent institute that was affiliated to Venkateshwara University. So Swami spoke to this gentleman and got both of us a seat to do MSc chemistry there. And I can recollect this, that even in the center, in the university, we were only wearing white dress, no colored or whatever, just because we were outside. We still were sticking with the same sort of routine and whatever. And, this is quite an interesting incident because, whenever there are newcomers that are enrolling into universities, then they tend to be ragged, That is, the seniors basically make a mockery of these poor fellows who haven't even seen the place, make them run about and do all sorts of things and whatever. So there's a whole crowd of seniors suddenly approached me and Shankar Barwa. And all the other juniors were running to and fro, and we thought, what is going on? Why is there some fire or something? What is going on here? Next thing we see this whole crowd of these seniors approaching us, And then we just stood still because Swami was in our minds. And we said, let's see what these guys can do, And we just stood. Another fellow tried to push and he just backed off. Everybody saw our reaction, very peaceful and calm. We were not going to be sort of at all taken by whatever they were doing. And ever since after that, for 2 years, they've kept their distance from us. They always respected us.
But I believe when you went to Swami, he made some remark. What was that?
Yeah. It was, this we, see, I think those were the most privileged moments in our lives. Because a lot of times Swami used to spend time here in Parthi. Anantapur to Parthi is just over an hour by a bus. Every weekend, as soon as we used to look at the clocks, when is the weekend, last class finished, take our baggage and rush over to Parthi. And invariably, Parthi, you will not find anybody there. No boys, nobody. And me and Shankar were having great time with Swami. As soon as we landed on that occasion, particular, Swami straight saw us and said, come in. And Swami is a great host. Give some snacks, and everyone here would experience snacks and everything, joking and showering so much of love, as though he has not seen his children for such a long time. And then Swami was asking us, so how did your first week go and all that? And we described this to Swami, that Swami, this is what they tried to rag and all that. And then Swami said that, yes, Santosham, Swami said that he was with us all the time. And that's why nobody touched. But Swami feels very happy that boys, when they practice his teachings and and follow his guidance, Swami feels very, very happy. And so that was what happened. It's only Swami inspiring us to do, not that as boys that we are doing something. No. Swami has been...
So now let us bring you to Puttaparthi. So I believe after the masters, you came to Puttaparthi and you are supposed to set up the chemistry lab?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So...
and I believe all these three, Kantha Rao Prabal and Ashok Anand, were the first batch of people. So we can hear both sides of the story as to when you all joined and there was nothing called hostel there. And I think everything started in Prashanti Mandir itself, if I may put it in that way.
Correct. Yeah.
So maybe all of you can start now. Tell us your expression, interest, and your whole induction program, if I may put it like that. So please feel free.
So let me start. Let me
Yes.
focus on the chemistry side. The new laboratories were coming up, and the layout of the laboratories. So Swami was consulting with me, and they were the best moments because he used to take me into the interview room, showing the drawings and all that. That this is what they will come up with. So what do you think? What should we be having here? Obviously, the key areas for any laboratory, of course, working area, the laboratory itself, and there has got to be a room for the balances, because you need to ensure there is no lot of ventilation, otherwise your weights will go all over the place. And it needs to be fairly clean environment and what have you. And then a store area where you can keep all your stuff, all the chemicals and what have you. And an area where you can have a supply of gas. So these were the things, and in consultation with Swami, in a lot of these things, Swami says, so what do you think? I think it is here, and best not to say much. It is best that let God himself decide what he wants, and he can guide us now. And so Swami went through the plans, and that is how they were implemented. And then it was a crucial time where new lecturers in chemistry also were meant to join. So Swami asked me told me that you should be on the interview panel, but also there's going to be this model interview where the candidate, they effectively, as though they are holding a class, try and vet them how they are presenting, and then let's have a discussion. And then Swami said, for the model presentation, I'll also take some time and I'll also come. And in
So
fact,
nice.
and this is very revealing, And he actually came when this was going on. And as soon as he came, everybody got up. Swami said, shoo, sit down. So he went and sat on one of the chairs. Few minutes he spent there, and this person was lecturing. And then Swami got up, and then he went. You see how much the keen, the detail, eye for detail that he has got. He's very keen that things are done to perfection. And then after that, he was having again a meeting with our Amarendra. At that time, he was the principal. That what do you think? All happy and whatever else. While seeing this, reflecting back, I wonder that yes, here was the interview panel looking at this lecturer and vetting him and whatever. And Swami had come and Swami had gone. I'm pretty sure this lecturer that was being interviewed must have been desperately praying for Swami. That please give me a little space in this institute so I can serve you. But at that time, those thoughts were not in my mind. But when I reflect about the whole thing that was going.
See, what I find intriguing is that in spite of his very busy schedule,
yes,
that he was giving darshans, talking to devotees, running an organization, and still he had time to come down to do micromanagement and help and assist your details.
It is just
so, brothers,
unbelievable.
When you joined, I think Swami was very particular about discipline. Even in my time, I've seen him, but that seed was from beginning.
Yes.
He was living a very simple life, but
That's
a very
right.
strict life. What do you have to say about that? Prabal, Kantha Rao, Ashok, please join in.
Yeah, right. If I have to tell, right, so I would basically say we stayed in the mandir for 1.5 years. right? December 25th, 1980 is when we shifted. 79 was when we all joined up. Now, I term that period in my this thing as learning, training, and apprenticeship. Now, there was a learning, there was training, and then there was an apprenticeship. Now, in the sense, for example, when we go about saying that, right, there were boys who used to go to the gokulam and then get trained for milking the cow, milking the cows, etc. There was a set of people, students who used to go to the kitchen in the right in the mandir canteen, get trained. Be a set of students who used to go to the bakery, get trained as bakers. There was a set of students who go to the store and then work in the stores to get trained as stores. And there were people who were attached to the right, the electric and the mic system. All right, so they were trained here. So there's a whole functional thing. You know, it was divided, and the beauty of this was that nobody, right? There was no one came and said you have to do this or you have to do that. It all everybody started doing joining up in a voluntary way. I mean, we could only say that it is only a divine right blessing that we wouldn't know it. We wouldn't know it. But then, you know, right, like me and Kantha Rao, we were totally associated in the canteen. Now the 1.5 years of training was primarily when we say kitchen, all right, to make chapatis, fry chapatis, make idlis, what else. Now we are coming from a background, we have no, right, we were not allowed to get into kitchen in our house when we were at home, right? Mom, everything, and we were never knew. We only had one way of eating. But here was a thing that we basically were trained from making to serving and managing, even because we had this access of going into the store. So I say that there was a learning and there was a training which was going. There was an apprenticeship which was actually taking up right for us. That basically is the easy transition for all of us when we moved into the to the main hostel. I mean, we had no outside people coming and supervising or taking over as such. We as students and then the group of students who were trained and who had done this learning automatically just went in, gelled in and took over the management of the hostel. So actually you see that I just want to mention a small point and then I will hand it over to the others, right, as such. Now, in this whole scenario, what has happened here, probably, I feel, this is my personal thing, Swami didn't want us to go to the hostel, so he never made the hostel. So he basically, the hostel came up later or the college came up later because we were supposed to be trained and then move in gradually and then manage the whole thing. So I think it was just a master plan to see that we were training in that. Okay.
I would like to tell the audience, listeners, one very important thing. What hostel are we talking about here? Just to highlight it for everybody, it used to be the East Block, 3 stories East Block, Prashanti, right facing the mandir. So on the right side of the mandir, next to the Gopuram gate, is what our brothers are talking about.
Yes.
And that used to be our hostel, converted into hostel, those 3 floors. Yeah. And so please carry on. Kantha Rao, yes.
So actually what Ashok was mentioning about the training and the apprentice and the learning part of it, and what Dr. Kiran Patel, he was talking about the discipline and the minutest details which is really looking into. I tell you, discipline, when I say this, I always highlight this because, you know, Swami used to physically, we used to farm 12 lines every day. 12 times line used to be there, not 1 or 2 times. I know, right from morning Suprabhatam to till study hours and then sleeping. And we used to sleep in the mandir in the sands there. Okay, that time Swami used to come near the gate. Small gate used to be there towards East Prasanthi, where the devotees used to enter for darshan in the sands. Swami used to stand there to see how we form the lines. Even to that extent, he used to stand. And in fact, I remember, sir, in the 1980 summer, we had an acute problem of water problem in Parthi. And we used to draw water from the well there near the Gopuram gate. There used to be a big well. And we used to draw water and then take the water to the canteen to wash the vessels also. That was and Swami used to see from the veranda. It was in 1980 for November. Before November, we had a big water tank being constructed near Chitravati. From then onward, there's no water problem. That's Swami's grace. But initially, it was there. As he said, every smallest detail, Swami used to look and used to see that. And he was telling that Dr. Kiran Patel sir was telling, Swami used to come and see where he used to keep. When we shifted to the old hostel to the new hostel there, in fact, even during classes, I remember Swami came and sat next to me in the history class for a demo class where Rakesh Vadara was taking classes. For 45 minutes, he was sitting and watching how the teachers were teaching. So to that extent, Swami used to look into the minutest matters of everything. As you said, he was so simple, Almighty Lord, coming down to the human level, to our level, and then looking into and training the
Prabal, I
state.
believe,
That
yeah,
was
Prabal, I believe sometimes the food used to be different from home food. So what was your, I remember you telling me, so please share.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, just to add a little bit about the hostel, when we joined in Parthi, see, there were actually 3 huge halls, and in each hall, almost about 100 students were staying. So we were literally jam packed like sardines, very close to each other. And there, a person's property was, we used to carry trunks. Those days, trunks were very popular, and there was to be something called a hold all. So we used to have a trunk, and on top of that, we used to keep a bedding or hold all, and
The
that
hold
was
all
your
is
area.
like a
So
present day
just
rucksack.
imagine, yeah, absolutely. So just imagine staying like that. And one thing which I learned was that, in that type of overcrowded place, everybody was doing their bit. And as Kantha was telling and Professor Ashok was telling, we were forming lines for every activity. Food was being served. Now, regarding the food, I must tell you, one thing which I learned, because I was very finicky when I was at my home, I was very finicky about food. I used to like only certain types of vegetables and things like that. But after staying for a month or two, I was surprised with what type of metamorphosis I had undergone. I was eating carrots, I was eating petha sabjis and petha sambars and all sorts of things, because I was so finicky about food. So at the end of the day, after staying there for maybe 6 months' time, I was into everything. I was eating dondakaya, I was eating bhindis, everything. So in fact, first time when I went home, I asked my mom to cook these kundru sabjis. This kundru is not a very popular vegetable, but I started liking it. So I literally started eating everything. And then, as Professor Ashok and Kantha Rao and Kiran sir was telling, that we learned how to live a life in a minimalistic way and also enjoy each and every bit of it. And above all, we had Swami to guide us into each and every small detail, uh, as also to guide us in taking care of each and every responsibility which we were giving, whether it was making chapatis or whether it was doing social service or whether it was working in maintenance, everything. So he used to take care of everything and also guide us. So it was actually a life changing experience for all of us. That's what I would like to add.
May I ask somebody to describe that dorm so that people can get an idea
Yeah,
as to how big the
I'll
dorm
do
and
that.
what was the. Yes,
I
Ashok.
I just
Okay.
basically I came in late. I just go back to what I had stated. Since I had no clothing and all, I had to go back to Hyderabad and get my baggage. Like you had to get one suitcase, and then you had to get this holder, which is basically a bedding or what we today is a sleeping bag. So then all right. So when I came in, so the first floor where the professors used to be there, all right, Dr. Kiran, they were all having one room, but there were about 8 or so of them in one small room. And I went and met the warden. Then the warden said that you go up, and there was one senior, there was one boy. They were, I mean, you see that the structure was so beautiful. I mean, for me, the whole concept was so this thing because we all of us who came to Parthi other all right there were about 20 odd students who had come from Brindavan, and then and there were these professors, and all the professors were trained in Brindavan. They were Brindavan students. Now we were all new, we didn't know what the systems were, but these 20 odd students were the ones who would actually gel with us to see that make us get into the system what Swami is basically built up. Otherwise, it would have been a very difficult process. So then there were these, everybody. But then it was not a senior junior because we were all of us in the same batch. So I was sent by one of those Vrindavan students to my location. Then I enter this room, and then I see a lot of people everywhere. And then he points a finger at me and say, "That's your place." And there, then I realized that there's only a place enough for a suitcase. And I landed up being beside Prabal, and he became my suitcase mate. So we don't have roommates there. We have suitcase mates over there. And the best part is that we don't sleep in the rooms or the dormitories, etc. And you see that the extent of privacy that we had to maintain, because once we arrived, at that time it was the mandir, we didn't have the Kulwant hall, it was just an open one, so we were just exposed to the devotees. And then Mr. Kutum Rao was very in charge of that, was very particular about the students maintaining high discipline. We cannot come out of the bathroom, which was right outside, or after doing a fresh up, without wearing our dress, because once we come out without wearing our dress, we are exposed. So you see that we had to manage all these things, in that, and everybody had to manage everything. We can't even hang our towel outside because it's indisciplined, right? So we were minutely, micromanaged, and we had to do everything. And the best part of it is nobody cribbed, because we used to have darshan in the morning and then in the evening. And Swami literally used to spend not less than half an hour with all of us. So therefore, that actually was the one which settled down everything. So people were not even thinking about anything else except that
he used to come to hostel also, right? He used to come to the third floor.
Yeah. Every Thursday, Sunday, he promised us that he'll come, and he came also. He came, and we used to keep our suitcases and beddings on top of that. There used to be one big satsa like this. We used to keep there and then keep the whole hall vacant. And by the time Swami comes, sometimes what we used to do, we used to keep our bedrolls in the corners. Suddenly, Swami used to keep his lay his hand on that, and then stand there. It used to be like that. And once Swami leaves the hostel again, we used to take our beds and trunks, put it in our places.
I want to highlight that none of these halls had any fans.
No.
So it was a bare dorms.
Oh, we had.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question for the benefit of everybody.
I would like to add one point there. We actually lived in AC rooms. Right, we had wonderful, natural AC. Our bedroom was, Swami, the whole of the mandir. We could sleep anywhere, in the sands, etc. And in fact, some students were used to go about ensuring that they slept in front of the door where Swami used to come out.
Yes.
So we had basically a lot of luxury, right? There's absolutely fantastic, it was God's bedroom. We shared God's bedroom, the sands were, because I remember 4 o'clock, this Gurkha used to come, this old gentleman, and used to wake us up, Sai Ram, and because the ladies used to clean the sand, because the sand has to be, so 4 o'clock we had to get up and then pack our bedding and come. So therefore we had no problems with not having. Right. Just wanted to add that. Yeah.
Sure. No, I'm just trying to share this thought with everybody that, Bhagwan never had, even physically speaking, never had any constraint, be it financial or be it a human constraint of human resources. And yet he loved that his children lived a very strict and a bare minimum lifestyle. Like simple living, high thinking philosophy of Bhagwan. What do you think could have been a reason for that? And what impact do you think it has created in building up the whole student life? Anybody? Prabal, you can start, or anybody.
I just would like to say, because you see, we were at a period of time, what Swami emphasized was work was worship. Now, for us, work was a very important part, life there as a student, because you see, we were all responsible, were given or took on responsibilities of doing work. So there was this period, I mean, there was this lifestyle of ours, which actually was never boring, because we had work to do, we had to go to college, then come back, had Swami's darshan, then we had to work to do. So everybody is so occupied. So therefore, you see, work is worship. In fact, that was something which actually I feel was the big learning. I call our period, all right, of studenthood as karma yuga for us. We are all karma, all right, the
Yogis.
duty bound workers as such, because work was very important. Because Swami used to also tell us to go do this work or that work. Like even Naveen Bhai was saying, it started from that particular period, because work was given, and Swami used to tell you, go do this work, and work was a sign. In fact, that's how our life was. So work was worship for us.
Kantha Rao Garu, join.
As Ashok was saying, work was worship for us, because especially in 1980 for 55th birthday, I still recollect we stayed off in the South Indian canteen for about full month. We were staying in the South Indian canteen only, because that was the World Conference was there for Swami's 55th birthday, I remember. And myself, Ashok and another set of boys, we used to work there. Morning of 3 o'clock, we used to get up and start making vadas, idlis for breakfast, and then again for lunch. There used to be fast food counters for which we used to make some puliyodrai and curd rice and all that. We used to again transport it. And
In bullock carts.
we never bothered about, we should go for darshan, nothing of that kind. We totally forgot ourselves in that work itself, the time frame itself. That's how we were trained by Swami. And there used to be continuous work also. Work also used to be very continuous. There's no gap, because the devotees coming into the Parthi, and we used to take care of their needs, food needs and other things. It was so fantastic, I tell you. And nothing like work was worship. That work is worship even today, for that matter. And that's how
Naveen
we
Bhaiya, as Ashok was telling, Brother Ashok was telling that, it is a training ground. He keeps
Yes.
training us in different formats.
Yeah.
I believe in 69, 70, when you came to the beginning of hostel life in Vrindavan,
Yep.
that time also Swami made you all independent. He said,
That's
manage it.
Yes.
Correct?
He, right from day one, he said something about that this is a gurukula system, and then the whole thing, hostel, mess bill, everything has to be maintained by the students themselves. There is no supervisor or superior coming and going to control over there. There is no such person who is going to supervise all that. So initially, in the days, he gave me about 1,000 rupees or something like that. He said, go next day and collect provisions from Bangalore city and bring it in a tempo, this 3-wheeler, and that will be your start of your provisions that you need for the whole month. And as you need things like firewood and all that sort of thing, order it from the village in Kadugori, and at the end of the month, whatever expense that you've gone through, total it up and divide it amongst the students that are being served in that hostel. And that is how you will manage your finance or the funding in the hostel. Divide it amongst them. And that is what you are going to be paying. No doubt, Swami says, I can afford to pay everybody's expenses, but I want you people to learn it by yourself. So this is why he wanted us to make us independent. And because he said, sooner or later, you are going to go into this big wide world. And how are you going to learn all that economics? Until now, your parents were looking after all that. Now you have been given that opportunity. Learn on that. And then that is how you're going to learn. If you can't pay for
Kiran
it,
Bhaiya,
Swami
Kiran
will pay.
Bhaiya, when you joined in 72 onwards, I think the similar story continued with you also, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the monies were all divided. Everybody used to contribute towards that, and that is how it used to happen. After about a couple of years, there was a cooperative shop like
Yes.
that was being managed by students, which used to sell bars of soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, the basic requirements.
Pencils
And for that, Swami had given the initial money. He
Okay.
gave a little bit of capital, and then he said, use this to buy the stuff, and then students were taking turn to look after this place. And all the time, stuff used to be rolled over, and all that used to happen. So it was very much self-sufficient. I think when you look at the bigger things or Swami's vision about all these education institutions, Swami has always talked about value-based, integrated education. There is all the academic education that you are taught, you are given, which is only for the head, which ultimately is for our livelihood. But what was missing is how to manage life. And this Swami's institution gave that formula for life. And our brothers here spoken about, we were going and working in the kitchen, cutting vegetables, serving all the other students, going to the Parthi, the shops and all that, again,
It's
manning that.
Yeah, it's very interesting to really visualize it, that in the morning you wake up, of course, people think that first thing we do is Suprabhatam, but here are students who wake up and do vegetable cutting and prepare the breakfast, correct? So you have that scenario going on, and then you get ready and run towards the college for your normal day routine. And Bhagwan is joining you even in the morning, because when you used to go out and come back, and then he'll give darshan. So you were involved, Bhagwan was involved there. Then he would come to the college and see you all in the classroom. And then evening, after darshan, he will again come to hostel and see how you are having your tea and snacks and all that. And many times he'll have dinner with you. And then it seems in mid 70s, he used to walk back as if you are from hostel to Mandir, bungalow. You used to drop him back to Mandir. And there you had again bhajan session with Swami.
Yes.
I think that was continuing. Brindavan was a very special place, I would say. Prashanti Nilayam, there are a lot of public coming and whatever. Its routine were different. So the entire hostel had to comply to the regulations that were there for the mandir and strictly abide by that, be it queuing up, making sure that we don't earn a bad name in eyes of anybody. But Brindavan was different. It was like Sai Krishna's Brindavan. And Swami was very free. Most of the time, Swami used to spend with the students. As we said, it's a gurukula system. Apart from just mainstream education, Swami himself used to develop each and every student in his own way, and giving joy to each one of them. So lifestyle was completely different.
Kiran Bhaiya, I'm recalling one story of yours. In your chemistry lab, the class was going on, and Bhagwan came and sat next to you. So if you could share that interaction with Swami and you, the dialogue, that is very interesting.
Yes, it's as everyone has said, Swami used to just walk to the college anytime, peep through the windows of the classroom, what is all going on. So once he came to the chemistry laboratory, at that time, the laboratory was sited, if you can imagine, the current Kalyan Mandapam. At the extreme end of that is where the chemistry lab was. And obviously, we were quite limited by classrooms. So the laboratory also, to a large extent, used for the lectures. So one day, Swami just walked. And the moment Swami walked in, everybody got up, hands folded. The lecture stopped, and Swami told the lecture, continue. And everybody sit down. So everybody sat down. And then Swami just walked a little bit. There was a seat next to me. And Swami went and sat there. So lecture was going on. And then Swami asked me, what is this? I think it was a bottle of copper sulfate. Right? And then Swami asked me, so what does it have? Now, I was talking about chemistry here. I said, Swami, it is called a compound. I don't know how to describe to Swami. Swami, it's called a compound. उसमें क्या है? स्वामी, उसमें कॉपर का एटम्स है, सल्फर, ऑक्सीजन. And then Swami said,
what is inside? Copper.
Yeah,
and
that's right, inside. And then Swami said, beyond that what? And so I said, Swami, उसमें एक nucleus है, but there's a nucleus, and then there are electrons that are going around. And then Swami said, what have you got beyond that? Then there was total silence. And then Swami said, God. Swami said, God. So that is what Swami wanted to give that message of integrating our mainstream education with the values to give it strength. It was a very, very eye-opening anecdote, because that was how Swami always wanted students, their thinking to mature.
I guess all of us have gone through that experience when Swami asked a question and we learned it later in life that better is to shut up. Because
Yeah, I
when he
would
has
like to
asked,
add-
that means we don't know the answer. So just keep quiet. So
I would just
I
like
think
to add,
Kantha Rao Garu had an experience on that.
No, actually, yeah, I was telling about it, but more than that, as we are all discussing, Swami was talking to us, joking with us, playing with us, and instructing us, looking into all the minute details. And doing all this, he suddenly reveals his omnipresence in a very casual way, which we don't understand at all. That's what Swami is. We don't need to do some penance for having that divine revelations for that. That's how Swami has really put a lot of grace on us, showered a lot of grace on us. I'll just give you one experience because while we were doing PhD, we were also working in the kitchen. In the hostels, we used to have a Monday, we used to have some dosa, upma, and one day we used to have idli, vada, and bread and noodles. The menu used to be like that. And usually on Sundays, we used to have puris because students will come for rolling. There won't be any issue that time. So one day what happened, we rolled puris, and then for breakfast, we served puris in the dining hall. And one of my classmates, Mr. Dr. Prasad Rao, we're all together. He's a nice chap. And he was with me, and we both we served the students all the puris. Some of the students actually they did not have puris on that day because they went off for darshan without having breakfast. It happens sometimes, and a lot of puris were left out. And at the end of it, we sorted that everybody has come and gone for darshan, and we started, taking our plates and having breakfast. While we were having breakfast, myself and Prasad, we sat together. And I told him a lot of puris were left out. You can eat as many as you want, because he also had a very good appetite. So me too. I also had. That was a different issue. And he started eating. And I started counting for a word just for fun's sake. And he had around 26 puris, to be frank. And then I told him, why don't you eat more? I said, enough, yeah. Because if somebody says it doesn't look good, I said, nobody is there. Only you and me are there. You can eat more, I said. He said, no, enough, he said. Then we took bath and went for darshan. And as we went for darshan, we sat at the back in the veranda. He was sitting at the right side, I was sitting at the left side. And Swami finished his darshan and also interviews. He came all the way and then came to the middle of the students. He came to us where we were sitting and looked at Prasad and told him, gave him a smile and told him, hey, Dunnapota, Sala, he said. That means, hey, Dunnapota, is it enough 26 puris? That's what he meant. And he looked at me and smiled. And imagine what happened is There's nobody we thought, but Swami is always in the constant connect. That was the CC camera, He is Sahasra Sirsha Purusha. He was always there. And he wanted to reveal that his omnipresence, even in a very casual, that's what he has been doing it. And that's how we are, remembering Swami. He is with us. That connect, when we remember such instance, we can never forget that Swami is all, we can
Always
always
there with us.
say, he is always there with us. This is what actually Swami used to do for many people. It is not just me and alone. So many
Yes.
people. That's so very in a casual way he does that. And
Brother
that's what
Ashok, you wanted to
it's
join something?
great
Yeah,
it was.
I just wanted to add here that it was one of the discourses in the old mandir Swami had come. He used to, as we were discussing, that Swami would come to us in the new old hostel, mandir hostel. So in one of the discourses, he happened to say, right. So he narrated the right story of Yashoda and said that with one hand Yashoda used to give butter and with the other hand hold a stick and beat up Krishna, because one way was catching him was to attract him by giving butter. And then he said, Swami is also the same mother. He gives, all right, with one hand I give you education in the formal sense of a degree, and with the other hand I give you spirituality. The next hand I give you the stick of spirituality. The fact of the matter, if you actually look deep, none of us would have been there, or our parents, though how devotee they might have been, would not have sent us there unless we get this education, and that to a degree or a formal education. So therefore Swami knew that this is the path towards getting young people and people like us to get into the fold of Swami, in the sense prepare us to the worldly life, at the same time prepare us and train us in the spiritual path of what it is. I never knew, because I believed in God, but Swami right from my childhood, but I didn't know what God meant until I came there. I lived with him. I didn't know what spirituality or what his value systems is concerned. All right, it's just about just about not just telling your prayers, but you are understanding the fact that you pray. Right, I learned one lesson on my first day when I joined. Then Swami gave me Pad Namaskar, which I narrated earlier. What did I learn from there onwards as such? If you pray to Swami, he is not going to give you whatever you pray for. He is going to give you what he wants to give. And that has been my case. All right, I have prayed, don't give me seed, but he gave me seed because he knew that what I need or what we all need. Because my experiences all through my life, I've seen whatever I have prayed and I asked for him, he never gave me that. Now he gave me better things than that, but I don't understand. But doesn't matter, because there's only one person we can go about asking, and we can ask him anything. I believe that we can ask Swami anything. I am a total believer on that. So I keep asking
Yeah.
that way, but he will give what he has to give. If he does not give us what we are asking for, don't be disappointed, because he's going to give us something better.
In today educational research, they classify the same education as secular education and spiritual education, the emergence of these two. Imagine Bhagwan starting this concept way back in so long back, So we are fortunate for that. Prabal Bhaiya, what is your thought on these things?
Yeah, I would just like to add, see, when we were there in college in Parthi, see, those were the glorious days when Swami used to love eating pan.
Ah,
Swami used to love eating pan.
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Swami used,
Just hold it together,
Swami
yeah.
used to eat. Swami used to, yeah, Swami used to love eating pan, and I used to take a lot of photographs during those days. So, Swami eating pan, it was a full detailed process, people carrying those silver boxes and, some special kerchiefs during those days. And Swami used to wipe his corners of his mouth. And, it was a prize position to get one of those kerchiefs. So it was a grand process. And I used to love taking Swami's photo with, those pan on his lips and teeth and things like that. And then suddenly one day Swami stopped eating pan. So there was a lot of speculation. People were wondering what happened. Some people said, no, something went wrong. Maybe the pan was not made well and things like that. So all of us were discussing, and it was a big topic of discussion. Then much later, in one of the discourses, Swami actually revealed why he stopped eating pan. In fact, I was so emotional about it that I wrote a poem that Swami stopped eating pan and sent it to Swami with a photograph. Okay. So then in that Swami said that once he saw, without naming the person, he said there was a senior person who used to take snuff.
Professor.
Snuff. So he said, I saw this man taking snuff. So he said he saw him taking snuff, and because the snuff leaves a bad black mark also on the nose as well as on fingers and things like that. So Swami said, I thought about it, that this makes a person's nose and hand so bad, and I'm also eating pan. So from that moment, Swami said, okay, I will give up eating pan. And next day he stopped eating pan. So I mean, that's the type of, even in his physical body, he had that type of self-control. Because see, to give up something suddenly, which he had been doing for maybe 50, 60 years, it's not so simple. So even in his human form, he had a lot of powers to control himself and his habits. But of course, we all missed when Swami stopped eating pan. It was really something very sad for all of us.
I want to bring in Bhagwan's simplicity. I want to bring in Bhagwan's simplicity. Naveen Bhaiya, I would like you to tell us about that story of how Swami was so particular about not wasting, even when he's to get stitched his robe, and how you
Yes.
got your red shirt.
That's right. Yeah. Now, as we all know, Swami is very particular about wastage, and this is where, I mean, Swami had one of his kurta or the gowns stitched, and the cloth that was there was slightly excessive, and the excess part of that cloth of this orange robe that was stitched for Swami, that was left over, but that wasn't enough such that it could be used for anything else. So Swami gave it to me and says, Naveen, go and get this stitched as your shirt. And the photo that you just saw a short time ago, that is this photo. You can see that Swami gave me that cloth and said, go and get it stitched as a shirt. That's why in these two photographs, you see me wearing an orange shirt similar to Swami's robe, and everybody else is in white. And Swami particularly mentioned me to wear that shirt on that day. So this is why I'm wearing this different color shirt instead of a white one.
I hope you still have that shirt with you.
No, I'm sorry, no.
It's a privilege to see this picture.
He was very particular about it. In similar way, he had also given me some other clothing as well. But he was very particular about discarding anything that could be reused, recycled, or anything like that. So, it's a lesson for us that where we can use it, use it. Don't just discard it. Just because you bought a new thing today, it doesn't mean that you throw it away. This Selling on Desires program that Swami has inculcated into us, unless you need it, don't get it or buy it. And only when you need it specifically, then you buy it and use it for that purpose. Otherwise, don't. Otherwise, don't waste the money. Don't waste the resources.
Prabal Bhaiya, I remember some time back during the convocation, Bhagwan wore a velvet gown. Prabal, can you hear us?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
do you want to tell that how that robe came about?
Yeah. So I believe there was, because these curtains and other things were being made, so there was some extra cloth. Yeah, I think you're putting the photo. There was some extra cloth. So Swami, in fact, said that why waste this cloth? Let me use it for my robe. And if you see, this is a satin cloth which is very, very thick. And in fact, it will be very difficult for anybody to wear it. But Swami, with the remaining portion, Swami got a robe made. And for those particular convocation days, he wore this robe. And I'm sure, see, considering the summers of Puttaparthi, wearing that robe itself must have been a great challenge because it's a very thick material. But Swami wore it, and Swami looked beautiful in that, and we all were lucky to take a lot of photos also that time. So this is the story behind this thick material which Swami wore for a robe, which was actually the same which was used for curtains.
Oh my God. There is so much we can learn from our master, that how he has really done. Kantha Rao Garu, you wanted to add something about his simplicity. I know you're fascinated by Bhagwan's simplicity.
Yeah, the Lord of the universe, yes, the very fact he spent all his time with us itself shows how simple he was. As I said, in the, coming to the kitchen and then coming to everywhere and then, guiding us, taking us. And more than that, Swami has lived every second of his life. And also, I think he has made us live every second of our lives also. His involvement was so much. And what I was most impressed with seeing Swami, and Swami has been saying it also, his selflessness in doing things. He just parapakaratha midam shariram. The whole body is only for the humanity's sake. Because I just give you one small incident which really, struck me. And if you look at Swami's feet, even today, and the nails were cut, parallel to the skin. He never grew even inch of nail also. One day it started bleeding, and I was seeing it, and then somebody asked Swami. Swami said, "See, if I grow a bit of nail, when devotees take namaskar, that nail might go into their eyes." To that extent, Swami is to take care of his body. That was selflessness. No, Niswartha. I tell you, it is amazing. And Swami has said, even iota of inch of selfishness is not in my body at all. Every act is for the humanity, for you and for me and for everyone it is. That's what Swami is. Swami, we have seen it. A number of incidents for such things actually. How Swami has the water project, the super specialty, or the university of free, whatever it is you call it as, in a gigantic way. And really, Swami, we are blessed because you have chosen us to be your instruments, and you have given us your name. The Swami has given us his name to chant and to be connected with him. That's what I feel. Anyway, nothing more to say for the people of your kind.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Ashok, you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I just would like to go about looking as I hear from all the brothers about this thing. What flashes to my mind is, if you right, I just go back to what Kiran Bhai had basically stated, that he was, when he saw Swami, and basically in this dilemma of saying, all right, how can Swami be God? Because the God picture what we had is about Krishna or Rama, and all very beautifully dressed, etc. As such. If you see Swami, right, he was very simple. Right, he used to only wear a gown. Okay, that's about it, and never wore his footwear unless he had stepped outside as such. There was no footwear. He never wore footwear at all. All right, all through
that also somebody had to give him.
Yeah, so right, that also somebody had to give him. And if you see that there's nothing else, and it is not that he used to wear those robe every day, a new one. Right, the robe would be repeatedly washed and then worn by him as a normal this thing, because that's what he said. My life is a message to us, or for us to learn, in the sense that just because we all these luxuries, or he could afford to have anything he wanted, because the devotees were so loving enough to go about serving him or giving him everything. but he never basically went about using anything. Even the food that he ate, or the simplicity in which he used to have whenever he used to come to the hostel, he used to just have a few morsels of food. That's about it. And then he would ensure that all of us really enjoyed the food, or went about saying, all right, going through the line. I mean, we can't just go about, we just have to learn from him. All right, we have seen him, so therefore it's just a lesson that we have to replicate, or go about putting it in our life, and try to bring come as close as his way of living. All right, as such. So he said simple living, high thinking. That's exactly what the summation is.
Let me take this conversation towards now the college part of it. And 79, when you all joined Puttaparthi, there was no college building, and we had only Eshwarama High School. And there was a local school, a government school underneath. That is a Eshwarama school, Telugu medium. And upstairs or side, I believe, can you explain that college started? So you used to walk up and down every day. So what was your routine? I believe you had prayer in the college and all that. So please, somebody can highlight and tell us about that routine going to college.
Yeah, the routine was right. Let me just. The routine was very simple. So 4 o'clock is where the Gurkha used to get make us get up. Then 5 o'clock we had to go to Nagar Sangeetan, form a line, and then go for Nagar Sangeetan, Suprabhatam, come back, do our morning this thing, form a line, go to the or go have breakfast, come back to the hostel, pick our books, form a line, go to Mandir, have darshan. Then after darshan, form a line, go to Eshwarama school. Then there's a prayer. Then the classes are over. Then come, form a line, come back to Mandir, go to the canteen, have our canteen, this thing, come to the hostel again. Then form a line. Let me just complete the form a line thing, Esther. All right, form a line, and then go back to college. Then come back. Then form a line, come back to the hostel. Then freshen up, go to the tea, come back to the hostel, form a line, go to Mandir for bhajan. All right, and then come back, form a line, go for dinner. All right, this is how the whole discipline was basically brought into lady. All right, as such. So therefore, for us, it was.
But I believe you're at Ganesha temple, that college quadrangle. That is a place where you used to stop for prayers and then move to Eshwarama.
Actually, you see, in the
Wasn't that
initial.
Prabal?
In the initial, we used to have
initial.
cellar we used to have in the library, where the right side there was to be cellar was constructed by then. In that cellar, we used to have a prayer and then go to Eshwarama school. If I remember, that's what I think Kiran Patel sir must be remembering that.
I'm sorry. No.
The first few months was in Eshwarama school only, because the building was not yet completed. Now, they actually, you see, the construction of the hostel and the building as also was in a master plan, all right, as such. There was the 55th birthday, and there was the second World Conference. Now, people would come from all over the world. Swami had to provide accommodation. Now, there was no accommodation sufficient enough for all these delegates to be living in the Prashanti Nilayam as such. There were not sufficient rooms and all. So the college building was for the Indian delegates. Hostel building of ours was for the foreign delegates. So therefore, there was this beautiful arrangement. Only after the World Conference was over, then, so therefore the construction was built in such a manner, or it was planned in such a manner that it was good enough to be ready for the World Conference and the delegates to make use of it. And then we moved in after the World Conference over there. I remember it was the 18th of December, 1980, that Swami first came and boiled the milk in the kitchen. And then in December 25th, 1980 was the inauguration of the hostel building, and then we moved in subsequently as such. So therefore, the buildings were actually a part of the World Conference. Is what I look at it. When you look at it now and you see, okay, this is what the master plan was, right? As such. Yeah.
Prabal Bhaiya, do you want to add something here? I think Prabal has a delay in listening.
Yeah.
So, to be very frank, I mean, when we were the transition period, when we were staying in the mandir and moving towards the new hostel, the thing was, see, first we were just confined to those 3 halls, and we had a large hostel to ourselves. So the highlight was that the hostel was inaugurated by Swami on the Christmas day of 1980. So it was a grand function, and Swami himself came, and we had all sorts of functions. And if I am not wrong, I think Professor Ashok was I think Santa Claus, if I'm not wrong.
No, I was
Yes,
doing the
Professor?
dance, right? So it was basically the Bhangra dance was the one of the. So I
It,
think we had
it,
those photographs
Yeah, you
also there.
it was Prasad Rao. It was Prasad Rao Santa Claus.
Yeah. And in fact, in that Bhangra dance, Professor Ashok also did that fire eating thing. He threw that
Yes,
fireball and things like that. And in fact,
yeah.
Swami was telling him again and again to be very careful, very careful. So that was a grand function. That is how we moved in the new hostel. And so there were a lot of teething troubles in the beginning, but we slowly overcame with Swami's blessings, each and every one of them. And finally, we had a grand hostel. But when we were moving, all of us, in fact, spoke to Swami and prayed to him not to shift us from Mandir to the hostel. So
Yes.
that also was a one. We didn't want to go, but then Swami said, "No, you have to go." So we all cried and prayed, but then Swami told us to go to the hostel. That is how we moved to the new hostel. And then, of course, the institute building inauguration also formally happened, and Kiran sir was there, and we finally had labs, because in the first 1.5 years we didn't have even labs, and we were only having classes in the Eshwarama school. And then we had the labs, and we were able to conduct experiments, etc. And probably either Kantha Rao Garu or Professor Ashok can also highlight about the annual sports which we had in Parthi.
Oh, that is.
Yeah, we will talk about the sports, but I guess coming to these pictures, this
Yeah.
was a picture of his coming to hostel for kitchen, right?
Dinner.
Now,
Yes,
this
yes.
picture is primarily the picture. If you go back to the earlier picture, this was the picture where Swami is inspecting the atta mixing, the chapati atta mixer. And he
Okay.
basically supervised. We had this machine which would go about. It was the first time that we had this, because earlier on it was all manual. So this was something which was brought into the hostel for the first time. Otherwise, it was manual mixing. And this is basically, earlier on, we did not have the gas connection when we moved into the hostel. So we had firewood, and then we used to we used to go into bullock cart to Kota Charu, and then get the firewood so that the kitchen would run. Now, subsequently, when the gas connection came, then we again had this. So we asked Swami to come and then bless the kitchen. And this is this picture where he's boiling the milk for the gas connection. What we had subsequently, it was.
So this was which year? This was which year?
This was
81.
right. This was 81, right? So for about 6 months, we were managing with firewood and and we didn't have that gas.
I have heard from Naveen Bhaiya that in '69, when the hostel started, they used to not have gas at all there also. So they used to buy firewood for this. Isn't it,
That's
Naveen
right.
Bhai?
Yes. In 1970, when the hostel came up, we used to buy the firewood from the nearby village, Kadugori, and use that for our cooking purpose. And until I left, that was still going on the same way. Perhaps in the new canteen, new kitchen, in the new hostel, they may have had the gas, but until then, we were still using the firewood.
Yeah. So now we are seeing that up to 1980, we had the same thing going on, and 80 this gas cylinder came for the first time to Puttaparthi. Wow.
Yeah, those days, when we moved in, it was basically it was very easy for us to go about managing and running the canteen in the kitchen, because we were
And
all
this was a
trained.
picture of our hostel, our dining hall,
Dining hall. Yes.
the original dining hall of Parthi hostel.
Yes.
And that was an altar. We have got a lot of memories for that too. And this is your group of
Yeah, the
students around
kitchen
here.
boys. Yeah,
The
these are
kitchen
the
boys.
kitchen boys.
Kitchen boy. Oh, they were called kitchen boys. Okay.
Yeah, everybody was called kitchen boys. The Gokulam boys, there were kitchen boys, there were maintenance boys, and there were electrical boys. Then there were dispensaries boy. In fact, Dr. Kiran was in charge of the dispensary, right, as such. And then we were all called boys and identified in that particular group as such: kitchen boys, bhajan boys, and then these are all small gangs, which are informal gangs, which were formed for work only, not for anything else, because it was only that you were functionally responsible for that particular function and the structure of managing the whole hostel. Right. So, in fact, I remember, one small this thing. It was we used to pay 90 rupees when we were in Prashanti Mandir as such. And then this canteen people were pretty much upset because we used to have breakfast, 2 items. Then used to be a full lunch. And then in tea, they used to give us one khara and one sweet along with tea. And then we used to have dinner. Now, these people were not very happy getting 90 rupees. So
Per
they,
month. Per month.
they
Per
per
month.
month. Yeah. And then one of the
That's important.
the canteen in charge then went up to Swami, because they used to go every day to meet up with Swami, and they put up that Swami, this is the price what we are giving, or we are charging the student is very less. Can we increase? Then Swami said one thing: if you cannot feed my students, I will take care of them. So you stop feeding them. So that's the end of it. So the price didn't change. So that's the way in which he said, you can't manage. That means you have to manage within that amount what the students are giving, whatever you are supposed to give, you have to manage. So that means your responsibility of managing goes to that extent.
I'm getting questions from some viewers here, and I just rephrase it for them. They're saying initial years, they are seeing some pictures where students are wearing non-white dress.
That's
So
right.
they're
yes.
asking, when did the white dress came into being as a formal dress?
Actually, I mean, if I have to tell, because I was the one who had no white dress at all when I went into Parthi, because I was sure that I would not get the seat over there. So I never managed to get it. So we all used to wear. In fact, I used to wear jeans for darshan. Now the white dress actually came because also at the same time, many of the students came from a little economically not so sound background in Parthi. Right, so people came from rural villages and various other places, and therefore, and we didn't have the necessary resources or shops over there in Parthi to buy. So in 1980, right, Swami gave us white dress,
White dress.
There
Yes.
was for the World Conference. So he got it stitched. It was tailor made. So everyone was
Purna Chandra.
measured in Purna Chandra auditorium. So, and the professors were required to write down, help the tailor to go about, get it measured, and then, for that, every one of us got a white dress from Swami on the 1980 World Conference. I think I've shared that one photograph of mine where Swami is giving those clothes also as a black and white picture.
Yes, black and white picture. Yes, I will.
So it was
Kiran bhai, in your experience, because I see white shirts were in fashion, but I don't know the full dress. Do you have anything to add when this started?
Well, in Vrindavan, I think my recollection around 73, it gradually started picking up, and around 74, most of the students at that time were wearing white dress. That is how it happened in Vrindavan. Of course, Puttaparthi came up later, but that is my recollection.
Yeah, it became more mandatory in 1980.
Okay, so basically in 73 onwards, the trend must be on, but he didn't enforce it till 1980. So the enforcing happened in 1980, kind of. Because I know we used to, in the hostel, boys used to wear even short shorts, like half pants. But that also got deleted in mid 80s. That story we'll tell next week. Next week we'll handle that portion.
No, there was nothing called mandatory. We are not asked to wear white. It came as a gradual process because you have to wear. white.
That's the correct word. Yes.
Everybody gradually shifted off and started getting whites as such. Whenever Swami had come or going for darshan, bhajans was white. But college we still used to go in color dress.
Okay. I think
And
this is a picture you're talking about when he was distributing dress to all of you, right?
yes, this is the dress, and I received the pant and shirt from him for the 1980 birthday.
World Conference.
This thing, World Conference, and their names were written on that, and each one's name was called, and then it was given.
I think we'll next episode we'll going to look into the sports and other co-curricular activities how Bhagwan has initiated and trained into. But one thing I would like to highlight, as you know, as we are winding it up now, that in spite of students being engaged into so many activities, as you all have shared, in kitchen, in electrical, in so many things, in administration. So people must be wondering, when did we study? And how did you all, get through to the life? And I think you all can quickly vouch for yourself. But I feel the acumen, the intelligence of the Bhagwan which bestowed on boys was different, because all of you have been kind of gold medalist and done well in life. Prabal sir was gold medalist in his time. I think all of you have done amazingly well. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, Abhimanyu, actually, this is a valid question you asked. Because when we were doing and working in the kitchen, once our warden Nichan, he called us. For some days, the chief cook Maharan was sick, and all the time we were only the boys were managing for some days. And our warden Nichan called us to the room and asked, "What is happening now? You are always seen in the kitchen. You are not studying. And if you get less marks, then the bad name will come to Swami." Then we promised him, "Sir, you don't worry about it, and we are. This is our great opportunity for us to serve, and we'll do this. We'll also manage our academics, and remaining Swami will take care of us." And I tell you, once we start doing our work, Swami's work as our work, and Swami will do our work. Academics will never go a matter for us. And Swami really took care of all of us, and we came out in all the examinations with the flying colors, and we never got any bad name either for the institute or for the people who supervised the working. Absolutely. And academics were taken care of. It was taken care of as and when the examinations approached. We used to study even late night sometimes, and that's how we managed it. And Swami's blessings were always there for that. That's it. And initially, that one point is I can make it clear. At least most of our students are from our batch. We stayed there only for Swami, and studies was a secondary for us that time. That's how we were staying there. That was, and of course, studies were primary. It became primary because Swami wanted us to study. We should not get bad name to Swami. That's why it has become a primary. Otherwise, it's always a secondary.
No,
Swami is our priority.
So
yes.
I
So
just
your
add
education,
here.
your formal
I just add
education was a
here.
means to an end. To stay was a reason, and the excuse was to go to college.
I would just like
Missed.
to add here, all right, Abhinav, that you see that there was this fear, the results would go to Swami first, right? It would never used to come to us. So once the exams are over, the results would go to Swami, and then Swami would see what was our performance. And sometimes he used to come and tell us, even before the results are announced, that you have done well or you're not done well. So that fear, it would be supervised by Swami, and our responsibility for for our studies was very high. It was never neglected. I mean, we were actually, I became a first-class student. I used to, and the first 2 years of this thing, we were affiliated to Sri Venkateshwara University. And the university, actually, we got a record in the university that this is one college where no students fail. There were 0 failures. So, studies were something which was just came very naturally in all of us. Dr. Kantha Rao, and speaking on his behalf, he didn't know how to read English or speak English. Now he speaks so wonderfully because he had made the effort with, of course, Swami's grace. And good professors like Dr. Kiran and all in the initial period who used to put on a lot of effort for us to ensure that we studied at the same time. So studies were absolutely a very important part of our this thing. So it was not just not worrying about it. So we all did extremely well in our studies, of course, with Swami's grace.
Bhagwan never compromised on studies, but he never
Absolutely.
allowed you to stick only
That's-
to studies. It was like a white. In closure, I want to ask you a very pertinent question for all of you. You can answer one by one. If I have to ask you, what is the one lesson or message that you take from being with Bhagavan? If one lesson, if I have to tell you that this is close to you, this is what I carry with me, and the message or that lesson from Bhagavan, what would that be? Let me start with Prabal, sir. Prabal, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. So the most important lesson which I personally learned was that come what may, we have to face the world and also do our best in any situation. That's what I've learned from Swami.
So do your effort to the best of your ability and continue without worrying about it. Thank you. Kantha Rao Garu, what is your...
Yeah. Yeah, as Swami always says that he is with us, in us, and around us, and we have to realize that we also should be always, in touch with Swami for every small thing. You can, no second you can afford to forget Swami. That's all I personally feel it, and because he has done so much, he's done so much for us. He's always been. He guided us so well, and he gave us all the lessons. He gave us the whole quintessence of all Vedas and everything in a nutshell, in a simplest manner, how you can understand. And this is what I personally feel it. And just chant his name, and you come across all the troubles, and absolutely you don't have any, inhibitions. Just you always be constantly in touch with Swami. That's what I always feel it, and that's what I have been. All my life is centered around Swami only. That's all I can say right now.
Bhagavan used to say, believe, have faith that your Swami is always with you.
Yeah.
So
Have
thank
faith.
you,
Have
brother.
faith.
Yes. Dr. Ashok.
Yeah, if I would basically say that all Swami students, I mean, all his devotees also, it's not just Swami students and devotees, once we believe. I mean, for us as students, I'm we made us amoebas. The creature amoeba, which has got this flexibility of getting adjusted to anything or any shape. So any problem, any situation, anything, we are able to face it, and then with his grace, somehow overcome it only with his grace as such. So the thing is, he is, and he will continue to be with us all the time, whether we like it, we don't like it. He has promised. And once he has given this promise, it is just going to, I mean, all of us have experienced this. He is there to guide us, whether we ask or not. His hand is on us. And we just have to believe and then move on doing his work.
Thank you. Kiran Bhai.
I think cherish his love all the time, and remember him in anything you do. And as students who have passed out of his portals, we were the most privileged. And I feel that we all need to emulate his life to the best of our ability, even, be it in our thinking, be it how we communicate, and anything else by action we do, just to reflect him all the time. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Naveen Bhai.
Sairam. Basically, live the way he wants us to live. Live in his glory. Live the way he wanted us to live. And our example is what others will see. The love that he has given us, that is what needs to emanate from us. And other people should get that vibe from us, that this is what Swami is. And that is the Swami, the love that he has given it. We are trying to emanate that same love to the others. So whatever we are doing, we place, as far as I'm concerned, place it at the Lord's feet. And don't wait for the result of it. Swami will take care of it. That's all I need to say.
Thank you all, brothers, for sharing your journey with Bhagwan. It is always a pleasure to live and remember Bhagwan and share this, whatever little we have gained, with all his devotees and people who admire and love our master. So it becomes a joint effort. It's our offering, and I hope and pray that every listener who has been with us and who will continue to listening to it will benefit from it. To close, may I ask Kiran Bhaiya, do you mind singing a line or two of another bhajan of yours, reminding us how Swami, because that time you used to be with Swami. Yes, please.
Okay, this is during our days, Raja Reddy Garu was the role model for all of us. I can remember this bhajan distinctly, which was one of his favorites, among the many others. Kamala Netra Sahayishwara Kaivalyate Yashureshwara Kamala Netra Sahayishwara Megha Shyamagana Gagana Sharira Shanta Brahmamaya Abhayakara Megha Shyamagana Gagana Sharira Shanta Brahmamaya Abhayakara Shanta Brahmamaya Abhayakara Kamala Netra Sahayishwara. Sai Ram.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you, listeners and viewers.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A message for all our viewers that this video will be available on our channel for future viewing. So you can feel free to share. And we will continue with our stories of Bhagwan and go dive deeper into our learning curves. And we share with you our co-curricular activities in next episode. Hopefully our sports day and dramas and dances with Bhagwan. So please join us again next Saturday. Until then, if you have any questions or suggestions, you're welcome to share with us so that we can look at it and share with you. Thank you, brothers. Thank you, everybody. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Thank you very much. Sai Ram.